Hello everyone, got a 2000 Excursion here. It's getting a fan clutch. A few months ago I had done the same thing in my pickup, same motor, same transmission, but it ended up being like an hour long because I did it almost in real time. So I decided not to upload it. So if you're interested in a full-length video, you can let me know in the comments and I might go ahead and throw it up. But just a quick pointer overview video. If you're doing a fan clutch on one of these early 2-valve V10s, I don't know if the 3 valves are any different, but if you're doing one of these fan clutches on the early 2-valve models, they're not difficult. This is one of the easiest jobs you can do. The first thing you want to do is, of course, drain the coolant. There is a coolant drain on the driver's side right there. If you stick a piece of hose on it, you can drain it into old antifreeze jugs, and I'm putting new antifreeze in because that stuff looked brown. So you want to drain that first. You want to drain about 3.5-4 gallons out. On the Excursion, there's more coolant in the system because it has the rear heating and all that stuff. That's what all these extra hoses and whatnot are. See, because on my pickup, this is blocked off with a cap because this goes to the rear here on the Excursion. But well, I mean, this hose doesn't. Anyway, you know what I mean. Point is, there's more coolant in the Excursion because of the rear heating, so you may have to take a little more out than you would on a pickup. But you want to drain that and then get the degas bottle out of the way. That is not difficult. There is a bolt here, and there are 2 bolts down here, and there's that third one that sits up top. Pull those, and then what you should be able to do after you're done with that, get this hose loose, then take this whole degas bottle and pull it back, and you should be able to get at the clamp on this lower hose. Now, if somebody's been in here before, they likely turned it around to where it's you have to come in behind with channel locks and get it loose like I did. But if you just get the whole thing taken loose and shoved back, you should be able to do that, and then just twist it off the hoses. It's not hard. Just be careful not to break stuff. And then once that's done, you can go ahead and remove this hose if you want, or you could just pull the fan shroud. Well, you can't pull the fan shroud till the clutch is off, but the fan shroud, there's just a bolt here and a bolt over there that holds it. You can take this bracket off to remove this hose, because this goes in the top of the radiator, which I'm going to go ahead and do now just because I don't want it in the way. So to get it, there's 2 bolts right there, but then there's a third one underneath there. So to get at it, you just need to come in here and remove just a couple of these push pins. And you'll want one of these trim remover tools. They are very handy for stuff like this. And then there's that third bolt. You want to get it off. If you can stay on it. There we go. Now, you do want to be a little bit careful because this bracket and that bracket on the other side, this is what holds the upper part of the radiator to the frame. So you don't want to go crazy. There we go. And then just remove these other 2. So now with the bracket gone, we can get in here with channel locks and get that clamp loose and out of the way, and then we should be able to just pull that hose right off and make a mess, whatever. Remind me that I set that there. And yes, you do want to be careful because this is part of the radiator, so if you break that off, you have to have a new radiator. There's probably a hillbilly way to fix it, but I don't advise that. You know, just don't break it. That's the easiest way to fix it, is to not break it. And before I forget, probably also should put some rags in the bigger tubes and pipes, openings, whatnot, just so bugs and crud doesn't crawl in there. I'm not going to worry about the smaller stuff. It's just the big stuff that has a potential to be a problem. Then you'll also want to remove this hose that goes from the radiator to the thermostat housing. And once that's done, you can go ahead and remove the fan clutch. Now, there's a couple ways, because you can't pull the shroud until you remove the fan clutch, because you have to pull the clutch and the shroud out as an entire assembly. So, as you can see, I have an 1 7/8 wrench here, which is what the fan clutch nut is 1 7/8. I mean, it's a tad loose, but it'll do. what I do, because I do the same thing on the Power Smoke, I just put a wrench on there and I just whack it a couple times while the serpentine belt is still on. Now, the way you're supposed to do it is to get a chain wrench or a strap wrench, remove the serpentine belt, then get your strap wrench around the water pump pulley here and hold it, and then break this loose with a fan clutch wrench, an actual proper one. But that's just stupid when you can use that. So you just have to knock it loose. Let's see if we can do that on camera. You think so? And it does move that way. It may take a couple of good whacks to get it broke loose. And I can't see, so I'm going to use the camera to help me see, and you guys can watch. There we go. Back on there. Not yet. It'll come off. It worked on my pickup. I know it'll work on this. And I know that's the right way, but this is the factory fan clutch. And it finally gave up the ghost. It's really just not working at all. And it's, when it gets hot outside, the engine starts to get a little bit warm. It's just not pulling air over stuff like it needs to. Oh, come on. All right, I'm going to have two hands with this. You're going on the tripod. There, we got it. Now it's going to come loose for us. Now, if I did it right, should be able to, there we go, reach in with our hand and spin it right off. Oh boy. Yeah, it takes a few swings. There we go. Now we just remove these two bolts. And then we should be able to pull all this out as one big happy assembly. There we go. Sorry about that. Need you guys zoomed out now. So there is the part number for the fan clutch. That's what she looks like, brand new. Now, just have to swap the fan over. Now, you probably noticed something very important. These bolts are not the right size for the new fan clutch. The new fan clutch has much smaller holes tapped in it. I do not remember what the exact size is for these new bolts, and these are just generic bolts right here. I believe these are metric 8. They're just coarse thread metric 8 bolts. I believe. I don't know that for certain. I didn't write it down when I did it last time, and I don't remember. I don't remember what all I actually bought, because I bought like 4 or 5 different sizes to make sure that I got something right when I was doing it on my pickup. So it is a much smaller bolt, and we'll pull these out here in just a second. But when you're putting, you can reuse the fan. The fan itself, the old fan, should fit on the new clutch just fine. But when you put these bolts on, you want to make sure, don't use flat washers, use lock washers. Snug them down pretty good. You don't want to go crazy, because you'll strip the threads in the clutch itself. But if you tighten it down good with a lock washer, it should not come off. because that's what I did on my pickup, and it hasn't come off yet, and it's been a few thousand miles since I did that, and I've run it fairly hard in that time, so it hasn't come off yet, and it doesn't show any signs of coming loose. I check it periodically, and it seems okay, so you shouldn't have to worry about that, but I wanted to make that distinction. It's very important, and this is the correct fan clutch. I guess they updated it because, you know, they made the V10 for a number of years, and I guess they changed the fan clutch slightly to do this. I prefer these bigger bolts, but, you know, and I wouldn't throw these bigger bolts away. I'd hang on to them if I were you, but you can do what you want. They will not work on the new clutch. I know that for a fact. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the fan swapped over to the new clutch, and we'll go back in with everything. You know, other than being old and crusty, like I said, this is the factory clutch. Other than that, I mean, they're really very identical. There's really not much they changed about them. This is the biggest thing right here, but everything else pretty much the same. So, you know, I'm impressed. 214,000, well, let's just say 213,000 miles is how long this went before it finally quit. So I'm happy with that. And this is, of course, the Motorcraft fan clutch for that reason, because it went 200,000 miles. And so if we take the new fan and we set it on there and we line everything up, everything lines up good. And I mean, you can see where you'll need lock washers on there just to help hold it, but it should be fine. It won't come off. So go ahead and do that and put her back on. No, almost forgot. So you might wonder if you should use thread locker on these bolts. That is totally up to you. I don't see anything against it. I don't see any reason for it, because I didn't have thread locker when I did this same thing on my pickup here. And I mean, that clutch has never come off or come loose. At least the fan's never separated from the clutch. So you can use thread locker if you want, but really you get on it with a ratchet about so long. If you come out here and just go fairly tight, you know, just like this, you don't have to go crazy with it. Just get it, you know, relatively tight. It's a feel, you know, you'll get it, and it shouldn't come loose. But if you're concerned about it, if you're really concerned about it coming off, then put thread locker on these bolts. This should never need thread locker, because without making it too complicated to explain it, the way the water pump spins, the way the belt drives that pulley, it will just continually tighten this on there. So this is almost never going to come off unless you run your engine backwards, which gas engines won't run backwards. So, you know, all right, now it's time to go back on with it. So we'll go over here, all pretty shiny, and we'll just lower it in, shroud and fan clutch all together. We'll just lower it in all as one unit. And this is an excellent time to get in here and clean your radiator really, really good. I advise compressed air, but if you've got, you know, water, you can get water in here and clean this out really good. This is an excellent time to do this and to spray off any other gunk that's on here. Now, I didn't come in here very long ago, and I really blasted this out good, so it's still fairly clean. I'm not worried about it. But it's a good time to do that while you've got all this apart, because it's not hard to do, but I mean, you got to drain all the coolant, and then you have to fill it back up, and it's just better to do this stuff while you got things apart. So let's go back together with it. All right, well, I was going to show you getting it on. I got it started, but the last time I did this, it took me about 5 minutes to get the damn thing started on the water pump. So when it started on, you can just thread it on by hand like so, and when you're done, just put your wrench on it and hit the wrench a couple times just to snug it up, and then it should not come off. And if it does, then you either ordered the wrong fan clutch or something else is going on. But it should not, at least on this motor, come off once you, there we go. Oh my gosh, that has so much more resistance on it than that other one. Oh, that's going to be nice to have a working fan clutch. And I just now noticed, it says right hand thread on fan clutch. It says that right here on the shroud. I just now noticed that. I guess that's early model year stuff. I don't know, because mine doesn't have it, and it's a 2001. So yeah, with all that done and the top bolts in for the radiator, or not the radiator, the fan shroud, we're all good. There's a couple tabs down below on the shroud, by the way, that it it sits into and then comes forward. So these two bolts are really the only thing that hold it. So, all right, well, next thing I'll do is just get everything kind of snugged back up and put back together, and we should be good. All right, ta-da! Everything back together as it should be. I just need to put that clamp back on the bottom of the degas bottle, because that would be bad if I forgot that. So really the last thing to do is to put the jack tools away. This is the only this is the second vehicle we have really out of, I don't know, what, 5 that has the original jack tools with it still. The other one being the Mazda CX-9 that we have, but usually it's a rarity if a pickup still has its original jack tools, because they frequently get robbed for other uses, let's say. So with all that in, that's not going to go anywhere. All right, professional. So yes, just have to put that clamp back on there, and I'll fill it up with coolant, and we should be good. But I'm going to do that, and I got some other stuff to do. I got an oil change to do, and air filter, fuel filter, things like that. But the fan clutch was the big thing, and that's done. So that's how you change your fan clutch on not just an Excursion, but one of these early V10s in general. It's not difficult. And like I said at the beginning, if you guys are interested in that hour-long video I made about doing it on my pickup, you just let me know in the comments, and if I get really just one person asks for it, I'll upload it. But otherwise, I don't see any need to. So hope that helped you out. If it did, awesome. If it did not, I'm very sorry. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments section. And all the part numbers, relevant part numbers and stuff will be down below in the description. So thank you guys again, and we'll catch you in the next one.